Chrome Corner, we're back again. UFC 303. We got fight picks for you. First, let me introduce our guest, Charlie T. What's up, bro?
I'm in bed because it's past, it's like, 10, almost 10:30, so,
Charlie's in bed because he's sleeping on this card. That's what he's doing,
I'm
sleeping on this card.
because Conor McGregor pulled out of this card, and I don't care what anyone says about Conor McGregor. When he fights, it's an event. And the only thing that saved this card was a complete maniac, but also a fucking, true champion, Poetan coming in and, stepping up and fighting again. So, hats off to him.
He did step in and kind of save the day. On the main card, everybody is ranked except for one person who was a late last-minute fill-in. So all ranked fighters, one champion, so one championship fight. The biggest favorite on the card is Ian Gary, but he's just slightly favored over MVP, and that's the first fight. So let's start talking about that one. We've got Ian Gary, ranked number 7, and MVP coming in. He only had one fight in the UFC so far against Kevin Holland, and he won. So he's ranked number 14, coming in just off of a little bit of status in other organizations. So who do you got and why?
Okay, so the only thing I could see being a huge advantage for MVP in this fight is you look at the reach he has. I believe he has a 79-inch reach, and Gary has around a 74 and a half inch reach.
Mm-hmm.
There's the clear advantage for MVP, but honestly, man, Gary's just so good. He's just really all around just a really good technical fighter, and he's a great striker. He had that great leg kick knockout in his last fight in Bellator. But honestly, you go back to a couple years ago, he fought, I don't know if this was 2020, or I think it was still around when, for some reason I think it was on the same card as Dylan Dennis, but I could be wrong. He lost to Douglas Lima, who is a good but not great fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And he got knocked out by him. And for some reason that popped up in my head, and I'm just like, and then he, I believe, second to last fight in Bellator, he lost by split decision.
I'm not quite sure. I know he went to BKFC for one against Mike Perry before coming over. He lost that, right?
Yeah, but he's lost twice in his career. I believe he lost twice in Bellator.
Yeah. And he didn't hold a title in Bellator either, did he?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so.
Yes, and he beat Kevin Holland, but dude, Kevin Holland literally will fight anybody at any time. He doesn't matter if he's a good matchup, stylistically. He's going to get in there and just fucking try to rumble with you.
He's already about to fight again.
Yeah, that's not a good litmus test. To see if, you can make the jump from Bellator to the UFC and compete against, the highest ranked guys. And Ian Gary, despite what Colby Covington says about him, which is hilarious, by the way, dude, he's a legit contender. I think Gary uses, closes that distance between MVP's reach, takes control of the fight in the second round and ekes out a unanimous decision.
But yeah, Gary, as you said, Gary's a big prospect. I think this is a big step. I mean, like you said, it's a big step up for MVP in the UFC quickly, which he's supposed to be coming in as a pretty highly skilled, prospect. I mean, I think it is on the back nine of his career, and he would have probably been an even bigger prospect about 4 or 5 years ago, but because he was on a huge run then, but still he's got something in the tank.
It's similar to Mike Chandler, who could fight on this card as well. He's making that jump to the top organization later in his career, which it's going to be exciting to watch him fight, but does he really have a title run in him at this point in his career? Because I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to work out. So Chandler went a certain route when he got here. He kind of went the old school Gaethje route of I'm going to go for the highlights, and if it ends up knocking people out and I end up having exciting fights and winning, then I could have a title run. But if it doesn't work out that way, at least I have exciting fights. I'm probably going to get paid a lot, etc. So I think the same thing can happen to MVP, but he's going to have to keep doing really exciting things. And I will tell you one thing, that Kevin Holland fight is not going to get him there. But I agree with you. I think Gary's going to win. I don't think it's going to be in any crazy, exciting fashion. The only crazy thing that would happen is if MVP wins, I think. Other than that, I think it's going to be a unanimous decision. And we can go to the next fight, which would be Mayra Silva, who is coming off of a loss, but it's to the current champ. And then we have her facing Macy Chiasson. Silva is ranked number 3 and Chiasson is ranked number 7. I think this one could go either way. I think Silva's probably overall more talented, but it is such... I hate saying negative stuff like this about fighters because I'm not a fighter myself, but her fights can be so boring.
Oh, yeah.
When she lays and prays with the jiu-jitsu stuff, even though I love jiu-jitsu myself, it can be very boring, and I hope it's not a snooze fest like that. But I do think she's more talented, and I think that she probably pulls it out. I know that both of them have submissions on their record. Both of them have recent submissions on their record. But, you know, I'm going to give Silva the edge. I think she takes it. What do you think?
Same. But it's funny you said that because I thought the fight she had against Raquel Pennington was extremely dull. Man, it just was just wagged on and on and on. But it's clearly, you know, she's the more talented fighter here. She very good on the ground. The only way I see her having trouble in this fight is like we talked about in the Ian Gary MVP fight. She's got I believe a 5 or 6 inch reach disadvantage, but if she takes it to the ground, which I don't know why she wouldn't, she shouldn't have a problem. So I mean, honestly, I see her winning by submission in the second round.
Okay, gotcha.
But I'm gonna throw a curveball. I'm gonna go armbar submission.
Oh, armbar submission. Okay. I'm going to go, if you're picking submissions here, I'm going to go triangle. We'll see if one of us lands it. We'll bet I'll bet you $1. If either one of us gets the submission, we got to give each other $1. Deal?
Sounds good.
All right, so next fight, we've got Anthony Lionheart-Smith versus Roman Dolidze. Roman is the one that stepped in on late notice, I believe, which is why he's actually coming off of 2 losses but still fighting a ranked number 10 guy, Anthony Smith. So unfortunately and possibly fortunately for Anthony Smith, he's got a guy that's probably easier than what he should be facing, but that could always be a dangerous fight as well, you know, with the guy coming in nothing to lose. So Anthony Smith ranked number 10 against Roman Dolidze. What do you got?
Okay, so what is Anthony Smith at this point in his career? Is he just a gatekeeper to the top 10 in the light heavyweight division? I mean, because he's not going to compete for the title anymore. He'll win, you know, he'll come out with an impressive knockout every few fights, but then he'll, you know, lose 1 or 2 streaky. That's all he is at this point. Like, I don't know. I love watching his fights, though. He's very entertaining. I thought it would have been really cool to have him on the card, then have Yuri and Poatan in the main event, and then have Jamal Hill fighting Roundtree, because Roundtree knocked Anthony Smith. Was it like not even a year ago?
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not very excited for this fight because I see it's a guy on the downspin of his career in Anthony Smith, who's still a top 10 fighter, but he's not going to ascend past the 5th spot, obviously. And it's a guy who's lost 2 fights in a row.
Yeah.
But honestly, before he lost those 2 fights in a row, he had some impressive victories. I remember when he beat Phil Hawes, he knocked out Phil Hawes. That was a pretty big win at the time.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's so hard to predict when someone enters any type of losing streak, like even one or two fights, how they're going to react to it. Like Tony Ferguson, you'd have told me he'd have lost 2 fights. I'm like, oh, he can come back and knock someone out, but then he proceeds to lose like 4 more. Cody Garbrandt loses twice to TJ, then he gets knocked out again, and he's been streaky ever since. So it's always hard to predict. Like you said, he's stepping in on short notice. I think this is a very entertaining and exciting fight. But I'm going Anthony Smith, and I'm going my 3rd round knockout.
Okay. I actually have a very similar prediction on this one. So, of course, I'm picking Anthony Smith. I feel like you'd be going out on a limb to pick Dolidze to come in and win this. But I was going to go 2nd round knockout. It may end up going to 3rd. I like that pick as well, because especially Smith's, like you said, kind of streaky. It's like he's very talented. He's definitely talented to be where he's at ranked-wise, but he's getting older, and he just doesn't – some nights he comes out there, and it just seems like he just can't put it together, and then other nights he looks great. It's just one of those things. Maybe it is part of the age thing. The guy has so many fights. The guy has over 50 fights, which is insane.
His career record's like 38 and 18.
Yeah, it's insane, bro. 50 fights, that's wear and tear, bro. But I've got Smith as well.
He reminds me of, remember Melvin Gillard?
Yeah.
Like old school, ultimate
old
fighter.
School.
The dude was like, before he turned 30, had like 60 fights.
Dude, he was jacked.
Yeah, he was jacked, but he fought all the time.
He'd have the bleached hair or the red hair or...
Dude fought all the time.
Didn't he have a lisp, too?
Yeah, he did.
Everything about the guy said, you can't forget me. For the co-main, we've got Brian T-City Ortega, and we've got Diego Mr. Mullet Lopez. I'm choosing first on this one. I think this is the hardest fight to pick on the card. It is at 155 and not at 145, where they both typically fight at. Does Lopez fight at 145 as well?
I thought Lopez he's fought a few at 155, if I'm not mistaken.
He might have, but I know Ortega's bumping up for this. It's a short notice fight. I don't know what to think about the weight. We'll have to. We haven't seen Ortega fight at that weight, so we'll see.
Actually, I recant that. I don't think he's fought at 155 either.
Okay, so they're both 145 bumping up because late notice Ortega couldn't make the weight, which, understandable. But they said that Ortega was going up to 155, and that's part of why he couldn't make the weight, so he was a little bigger. But we'll see. More weight on both guys. Like I said, I think this was the toughest one to pick on the card. I think both guys are still great. Both are still, I would say, in their prime. Lopez is entering it, and Ortega's arguably on the back half of his, but I don't think he's anywhere near like the end of his career. Ortega's got heart, man, and he's been on a kind of a resurgence lately. Like that last fight, I feel like he looked great, and but so has Lopez. Every fight, Lopez has looked great.
He avenged that loss to Yair, and that I believe he won it by a rear naked choke or triangle choke, one of the two. But he looked really good. So, for what that's worth.
Yeah, his jiu-jitsu, Lopez's jiu-jitsu is supposed to be amazing as well. So that'll be fun to see on the ground. That will actually be something fun to watch on the ground, in my opinion. But I think through heart and through feeling like he's a little bit backed in a corner that Ortega's going to win this. I think that he does it with a late submission. I think it's going to be 3rd round submission. What do you got?
Okay, so first fight for both at 155. Lopez has a slight reach advantage, but if you look at Ortega throughout his career, he was, the next guy. That's what he was propped up to be. Then he ran into this immovable object known as Max Holloway. And didn't Holloway set the record for significant strikes landed in that fight?
It was either that one or it was when he fought.
KG.
What's the blonde guy? Blonde guy, crew cut.
I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, me too. But anyway, the one where he stopped and he's saying, in the middle of the fight, I'm the best boxer in the UFC.
Oh, I remember that fight. I just can't remember who he was fighting.
It might have been that one. It's either that one or the Ortega fight, but he whooped both of them. Anyways.
Yeah, so Ortega showed real vulnerability in that fight because, he's a guy who is always a danger to submit anyone. He's decent. His stand-up's decent.
It's gotten a lot better.
It's not great.
But it's not going to become Max Holloway overnight.
You look at Lopez's last two fights, he's, two consecutive knockouts. I think he would benefit more from keeping it up and trying to trade with him because Ortega is showing his vulnerability is his striking. So
I agree.
think it's a battle of wits in that regard. I like Lopez in this fight. I don't like Ortega for that simple fact. I think his stand-up, while it's gotten better, is still suspect. I don't think he gets knocked out, but I do think he takes a lot of damage and he loses by decision.
Okay.
I'm going split decision.
I think there's no question that his best attack is going to be on the ground, and then Lopez, given that about Ortega, is going to be standing. Even though Lopez may be able to compete with him on the ground, I don't know. They said Lopez he competed in jiu-jitsu a lot as he grew up, and in Brazil competing in jiu-jitsu. I mean, that's you're going to be around a lot of great jiu-jitsu grapplers. So,
he's got submissions on his record, and not in the UFC, but in lesser organizations. He's not. It's not like he's void of any, ground game. He's decent, I suppose. I don't think he's terrible, but like I said, he wants to win this fight. He's going to keep it, up. He's not going to go to the ground.
I'll tell you what. We're going to find out tomorrow night if he's ready for the big show because he's top of the heap without being champ. He's like right there. So we'll find out if he belongs that high.
We talked about gatekeepers with Anthony Smith. Ortega's a gatekeeper, even though they're not fighting at 145. He's the guy who's like right outside that threshold of. Because I suppose Diego's not going to go up to 155 again right away. He wants to fight at 145. I believe he's only going up because Ortega couldn't make weight.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, if Ortega's a gatekeeper, he's a top 3 gatekeeper.
Yeah.
But that's our picks all the way up until the last fight. The last fight, the rematch, the championship fight, light heavyweight, Alex Pereira, Yuri Prochazka, champ versus number 1. Last time when they fought, it was one of the, I'd say at least top 3 for me, best stare downs of all time.
Oh yeah,
the stare down was amazing. Two just real spiritual guys in different ways. Also, the fight ended in a really controversial way where, half of the audience, I guess, would say they should have given Yuri a little bit more time. But Pereira KOs people stone cold, and we all know that. So we're back to you, Charlie, for this pick. Who do you got?
Well, here's the thing. I didn't think that stoppage against Yuri was controversial. The only thing I thought was controversial was the fight before that for Pereira. I thought he lost that decision to Jan Blachowicz.
Oh, same.
I was shocked that he got that decision.
Same.
And I thought he looked mid as fuck against a top light heavyweight contender.
Bro,
which was
people don't talk about that enough.
No one talks about that. And I mean, clear as day, like, if I had put money on that fight, I'd have been pissed off because I clearly thought he lost that.
Yeah.
As we know, judging can be suspect from time to time. But, dude, ever since that fight, he's been solid.
Yeah, he has. And you know what? If anyone in that division could wrestle worth a fuck, you know, they are going to be able to beat a Yuri or a Pereira.
This all goes back to that, you know, John Jones, why he was so dominant at 205, even when it was the best division in the world. It wasn't a division where guys had great ground games.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the ultimate, you know, total package. His stand-up was just as good as his ground game. So, you know, he picked your poison. He's gonna destroy you.
Yeah.
So, but even I think, you know, we saw what could happen if a guy who's a great striker decides to go up to 205 and face a guy with even halfway decent, you know, ground game when Adesanya went up to fight Blachowicz. You saw what would happen. But Yuri has no ground game, dude. I mean, he has that submission against Glover, but Glover's like 50 years old. I mean, that's not much of a litmus test. And even when he fought in Japan, most of his fights were KOs. I know he knocked out King Mo over in what's that called, like Ryzen or Dream or whatever. You know, honestly, I don't see much of a difference in this fight. I think it's more of the same. I mean, what am I basing it off of? The first fight? I mean, of course, Pereira's a much better striker than Yuri, and Yuri doesn't have a ground game. So what's his strategy going to be?
I think that Yuri's ground game is better than Alex's, but I don't think that. Here's the caveat or the problem. If you don't know how to wrestle, you're not going to be able to get them to the ground. You have to wrestle to do that. You can't just be like. It went to the ground with Glover because Glover would let it go there because he's comfortable there.
Yeah.
Alex is not. He's not going to let it happen. Even last time, Yuri tried to take down Alex with some, you know, again, I don't want to disrespect these big-time fighters, but some half-assed takedowns last time against Alex, and he stuffed him. Or when it went to the ground, he wasn't there for very long or didn't do much damage. If you can't wrestle, it doesn't matter. And I don't think he can wrestle enough unless he could get him down one time and really take advantage of it. But
Poaton's so strong, dude. He's so strong. He's so big. He walks around like we talked about before we started the pod. He's like 230, 240 walking around. He's not a small guy.
yeah,
He was definitely a weight bully at 185, and he's even a weight bully at 205. And
from what all we've seen, bro, it makes it that much more amazing that Adesanya was able to knock him out that last time.
Incredible. Insane. I mean, I think part of it was, you know, lucky shot a little bit because, you know, he was getting teed off on, and he just kind of like, you know, threw a few back and caught him, but still, yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, that's gonna be. It's gonna be a good fight though, because I think that what makes it interesting is that even though I would say Alex is a better striker, Yuri's so unorthodox that when you're that wild, you can catch someone who's just ready for standard strikes to come at him mostly. So,
but the thing that Alex does that's so, I guess I want to say, tough for other fighters to counter is he will walk you down. He doesn't give you a chance to regroup. He doesn't give you a chance to kind of, you know, let me get back in and let me focus. Mm-hmm. No, he's coming after you. He pushes the pace on you, not like the type of pace Colby pushes where he's trying to take you down the whole fight.
Yeah.
He's continuously walking you down. He's making you defend. He's making you throw back. So it's just, unless you have something he didn't see the first time, what's the difference going to be?
Yeah, we'll have to find out. I'm gonna. You gave your pick, right? You said Poatan. How?
Poton, I think third round knockout. I mean, he knocked him out last time in the second round. I think there's more of a feel out this time. I think the first round, could go either way because it's more of like a, you know, they don't come out striking fast. But yeah, by the second round, he's got a feel for Yuri, and he starts to land big in the mid to late second, and then third round just more of the same.
Yeah, I don't. This one, since it's a 5 rounder, I really don't see it going five. I'm split between second or third round. Um, I will say this: somebody's getting caught, and I don't think it don't go the distance. I don't think it goes to five. At most, it goes to four, and that's if someone can just survive an onslaught somehow. But man, it's just too hard to avoid that Poatan one-shot kill. I think he gets it done. I'm gonna go the third. I think Yuri learns a little bit, but doesn't pull it off. What?
Same round prediction.
Yeah, same round. I think it happens in the third. But I will say this: for the sake of the drama and for the sake of their just the mystique of it all, like I am rooting for Yuri. I think it would be more wild to see Yuri win because Poatan's been so unbeatable that I think it'll be fun to see.
I don't think it would be good if Yuri won because before Alex even went up to 205, like that was the least exciting division to watch.
You don't think it would make it more exciting if if both had a win and then they had to do a trilogy?
No, because honestly, I think Alex is the only at this level at 205. I think he's the only guy with superstar talent at the 205 division.
Like famous enough, you mean?
Famous and just exciting to watch. Like Yuri is in that Jan Blachowicz, Glover Teixeira type,
like
where he's a good to great fighter, but he has no appeal outside of that. He's not exciting. When his name's on the card, I'm like, oh, okay, that'll be a good card. But it could just as easily, if he headlines a card, it could be a fight night card. I mean, I don't know if I want to pay money to watch him fight.
Chrome Corner, UFC 303. We gave you the fight picks. They'll also be posted on the Instagram as usual. Follow us there at Chrome Corner MMA. And also follow us on IG. I'll put both of our personal Instagrams in the bio. Appreciate you guys. We're out.
Before you sign out,
what's up?
Takedowns. Jared Gordon, 3 of 6. Patty Pimlet, 0 of 3.
Yeah, but who won on the ground? Was it?
It doesn't matter, man. Who had more? Who had 3 more takedowns? 3 more.
Well, I'll have to go back and watch that one.
I win this debate.
Let me get out. Let me close this down before these people hear you.